I don't think there'll be a reconciliation 3. I think ultimately we're going to run out of time. So I think this is really going to be our last opportunity as we go into the summer to get major funding done. That again, that goes through some sort of appropriations process. And this idea that there'll be a reconciliation 3, I'm skeptical.
Met with Speaker Johnson earlier this week, and he also said he's pushing to be able to get that reconciliation package done by July. That may be possible in the House to be able to get that done, but it takes a month for us to be able to do it in the Senate. To get that done in the Senate is not possible by the end of July. It is not impossible to do a reconciliation 3.0 in November and December. That is more likely, I believe, to be able to get it finished up there, because there are things that still need to be done.
Well, that was breaking news on this program this week. Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, followed by Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, joining me both this week. And they were skeptical that the GOP can pull off a third reconciliation package this summer before they leave for August recess. Even as House Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing to pass the second reconciliation package after the big beautiful bill, he wants that on the president's desk by June. The second measure, though, later in the summer would include affordability provisions and social program fraud crackdowns and Iran-related funding. The Defense Department needs money. The Republicans are focused on immigration enforcement, though, for this current second package. Joining me now is Arkansas Congressman Rick Crawford. He's the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And, Mr. Chairman, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And we wanted to begin here because it's unfortunate that the House is being forced to rely on reconciliation to advance something that should be regular appropriations, critical funding for priorities like immigration enforcement and national defense. And you've got to have that as a skinny bill to get everybody on board. And all the other priorities, we thought, were going into another reconciliation package toward the end of the summer. But you just heard those two skeptics, one being your colleague in the House. What do you think?
Yeah, those concerns are not unfounded, but doesn't mean that they're insurmountable either. I still think there's some time on the clock that we can work this out. The Speaker is making some adjustments to the calendar to be able to address the end goal, first of 2.0 being on the President's desk by June 1st, and then hopefully working aggressively to accomplish the third one. And I can't speak to the calendar on the Senate side, and, you know, I try not to be too hard on the Senate, but I'm not sure they know much about what the calendar portends either. So, I mean, I understand the limitations of time, but I think if we just buckle down and do it, we can do it.
All right, well, let's see. We'll be watching this. This is an active, open discussion. Meanwhile, I got to get your take on China. Mr. Chairman, you've done so much work in terms of intelligence with regard to communist China. And the president spoke on Air Force One this morning. He said China agreed to buy 200 planes from Boeing with a potential commitment of buying 750 jets. The president also said that he is considering, or he would consider potentially lifting sanctions on Chinese companies that are purchasing Iranian oil. Obviously, that's something that Xi Jinping wants him to do. And he said he'll make a decision in the coming couple of days. But on Taiwan, the president said the issue was discussed, but he made no commitments. Watch this.
President Xi said there was a risk of conflict with the U.S. over Taiwan.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll be fine. He doesn't want to see a war. And you have two things. You have the Iranian situation, and that I think we agree almost entirely, other than he's a buyer and we're not. We don't need it. And on Taiwan, he doesn't want to see a movement for independence. He says, look, we've had it for thousands of years, and then at a certain period of time it left, and we were going to get it back. They had the Korean War. A lot of things happened. And all this. But on Taiwan, he feels very strongly. I made no commitment either way. We'll see what happens.
Mr. Chairman, how should we be looking at China with regard to Taiwan right now?
Well, there are a couple of dynamics I think it's important for the American people to understand. We tend to adopt a strategic ambiguity type position as it applies to Taiwan. We don't have the luxury of strategic patience because our political construct doesn't provide for that. Whereas the president of China, president for life, they think in terms of 100 years, we think in terms of 100 days. They've got the ability to engage in what you would call strategic patience. That is, they can wait us out. How willing are we to, across administrations, engage in that strategic ambiguity that doesn't lock us into a particular course of action in Taiwan? And when are we going to reach a point at which, you know, some administration comes in and says, nah, it's not that important to us anymore. Or when the American people say, it's not that important to us anymore. What's important to us is maintaining, you know, our supremacy in that technology space. And that's part and parcel of the position in Taiwan, because that production capacity resides there predominantly. And so unless and until we get to a point that we can replace that, then we're probably going to always have to engage in this high degree of strategic ambiguity as applies to Taiwan.
Yeah, that's great analysis because, of course, we all know that 90% of the world's advanced semiconductor chips are made in Taiwan. And the U.S. has a major, you know, gets impacted there. If China goes in there, takes over Taiwan, they'll be able to control the flow of those advanced semiconductor chips that we need for the military. But that is exactly the reason that President Trump is trying to get these supply chains back to America. So I understand what he's doing here, and we will watch that story as it develops. But what's your take on the deployment of our troops? I mean, the Pentagon canceling the deployment of an armored brigade to Poland, a major step toward President Trump's plans to scale back the U.S.'s military presence in Europe. Obviously, this happened after the European nations and our NATO friends did not help us with Iran. The Pentagon announced plans to remove 5,000 troops from Germany earlier this month, Mr. Chairman. And I want to get your take on this. A lot of people would say, hey, why is the president removing troops now in the middle of a war?
Well, there could be a variety of reasons why he's doing that, but I think what we have to do is sort of revisit this NATO construct and look at NATO. This is not our daddy's NATO. NATO has changed simply because the map has changed. If you think about this, what NATO looked like when I served in the military, when I lived there as a military brat and lived in the NATO AOR, it was different then. We were engaged in a long-term Cold War standoff with the Soviet Union. The map changed after the early 1990s, and then we saw the breakup of the Soviet Union, and we started seeing former Soviet republics say, hey, it's in our interest to be involved in NATO. That changed everything, number one. Number two, we have done the heavy lifting in securing Europe for more than a generation. And all that implies, that means that the economic impact of the U.S. presence in countries like Germany, for example, and Italy, has been much to their benefit and very little investment on their part. So what they've been able to do, because we provide that security blanket against intrusion from Russia, they've been able to invest in social programs, and they've changed the political landscape there as well as the military security landscape. So I think we need to revisit. This is kind of like a trade deal. As technology changes, as economic conditions change, and in this case, as the map changes, I think it's in our interest to revisit the construct of NATO and see how does this work for us, because when we need help from NATO, by and large, they're not there. Whereas when they need our help, we're there to do the heavy lifting. And I think President Trump has recognized that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Chairman, great analysis there. We so appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, Congressman Rick Crawford. We'll be right back. Stay with us.